The earliest accounts of the Celts come from Greek sources. The Greeks had spread throughout the entire Mediterranean and Black Sea by the 7th century BC. But even before this, trade from the west was an important source for much-needed tin, and as a result, Greeks had some of the most knowledgeable people on geography at that time, and they knew, vaguely at least, the people who inhabited various regions. Herodotus tells us, "The Celts lived beyond the Pillars of Heracles and border on the Kinetes, who are the westernmost inhabitants of Europe." This locates them exactly in the region identified elsewhere as the kingdom of Tartessos. They are mentioned in the Old Testament as Tarshish, as bringing precious metals and luxury goods from the far ocean. They had trade links with the Phoenicians and the Mycenaean Greeks. But one of their most well-known features are gravestone markers with carved writings that until fairly recently was not well understood. They wrote with a modified Phoenician script. In recent years, John T. Koch and others have put forward a convincing argument. Tartessian was a form of Celtic, and also might change the way that we think about the Celts. Tartessos was trading silver, copper, gold, and tin, probably serving as a hub for the tin trade from as far away as Cornwall and Amoricum. They were also exporting metalwork such as brooches and swords to locations such as Sardinia and Cyprus. According to Herodotus, a rich king named Argantonius ruled Tartessos around 500 BC. This name is clearly Celtic, with the word arganto meaning silver, and similar to the Gaulish name found on coins, Argantodanos. The nearby people identified as the Canutes likely relate to the Celtic coon, dog, which comes to refer also to a band of warriors. Ancient British place names such as Cunetio and Welsh Cynwydon carry the same meaning. If Tartessian is Celtic, which it certainly seems to be, what it means is that by 700 BC, Celts were already well established in southwestern Europe. The only possibility then is a late Bronze Age migration. Most of the inscriptions are found upon funerary stones, and these stones are a continuation of the pre-literate warrior stela also found in the southwest, dating to the late Bronze Age. Wheeled vehicles with warriors and weapons are commonly depicted. Some are identified as chariots, and specifically as the same type as Mycenaean chariots, further showing the late Bronze Age connections to Greece. The Tartessian script is derived from the Phoenician, as is the Greek, but like the Greek, has added vowels, and it's likely that it was done during a similar time as the Greek writing system developed, but it itself was not derived from the Greek, but directly from Phoenician. However, the script does not appear to have been based on the Carthaginian script, which is somewhat different in appearance, but must have been based directly on the Canaanite Phoenician example. It seems to have combined aspects of the Phoenician script with the Cypriot syllabary, and so these ancient Celts who devised the system would have been familiar with Cyprus. Often we think of people in 700 BC as never leaving the place of their birth, but the Tartessians show that these early Iron Age Celts were involved in long-distance trade, which most certainly extended back into the Bronze Age, and they traveled the full length of the Mediterranean. It also means that from a very early time, from at least 700 BC, but certainly before, Celts were interacting with peoples who spoke a Semitic language, and that they were borrowing ideas and even names like the goddess Astarte, which appears in their writings. While sometimes this connection was postulated under a biblical narrative, it was actually made a fact in relation to international trade in tin and gold. Yet could this likewise be the reason for certain shared features between insular Celtic and Semitic languages? We should not get too carried away with this connection, but nevertheless it is the case that the Tartessian Celts were directly interacting with Phoenicians and were influenced by them, and even incorporated the names of various deities into some of their inscriptions, even using the word El, meaning Lord or God. But we also get several names and words that are identifiable in Irish. There is reference to Certo, meaning a skilled person, and in Irish, Caird means one who is an artist or smith, with Cuchulainn called Cu na Cairde, hound of the smith. The god Lugh is attested in a plural form. On one such inscription it reads, translated by John T. Coke, invoking the divine Lugoves of the Neri tribe, this funerary monument for a noble Celt, he remains fixed, unaltered within. Invoking all the heroes, the necropolis has received the grave of Taxiovanos. Interesting is the word for noble is Aria, likely the same origin as the word Aryan, used by Eastern Indo-European peoples. Many other word cognates can be found with Old Irish, including the word for horse, ech in Tartessian, and ech in Irish, and the name Ecurini, meaning horse queen, likely a similar figure to Gaulish Epona, with the Rini, meaning queen, from Rigini. When we compare this of the Tartessians being Celtic, having extensive trade networks through the Mediterranean, and we compare that to the traditional Irish tales found in the Lauragabala Éireann that tell of their ancestors having come from Spain and having contact with peoples across the Mediterranean, that story no longer seems so outlandish. It doesn't seem like something made up simply by medieval bards. It may have a basis in reality, in a similar way as the Trojan War, told by the Greeks, had a basis in reality, but obviously is not a true historical account. And it's possible that in the very late Bronze Age, when Ireland, Britain, and the Iberian Peninsula were closely connected, that this culture and language was shared between these regions, and that this is a shared memory of that, if not some later migration or invasion by elites from Iberia. If you found this interesting, please like, subscribe, check out our Patreon page, and as always, stand tall.